Hi, welcome to the video. It is I, Tenshi Art, here to deliver unto you some knowledge. Don't look at my hair. Don't look at my hair. I haven't gotten it done yet. Don't fucking judge me, okay? Listen here, you're gonna deal with messy hair today, goddammit. So if you guys remember, about 2 or so years ago, I made a video that was about remastering an old painting that I had did years before. And while that video did really well, there was a little segment in there that I feel needed to be expressed a little bit more. And that was the segment that I had made about air being liquid. And for 2 years, this topic has lingered in the back of my head, and I've always thought that it was a good lesson to be taught. But unfortunately, that part of the video is a little obnoxious considering I had like loud music going on. But other than that, it was a really good topic, and so I felt like I needed to share it here, especially since it's very scientific and it deals with the fundamentals of how the world works. And I love science, and I love learning about science. I love researching science. I do it as a free time. I do it in my free time, and I do it as a fun activity. I just love to learn, especially science. And I feel like if I learned more about how things work in a scientific way, they can definitely be used to amplify my art. And that is where this video comes into play. The things I'm going to be talking about are very scientific, but I'm going to make them nice, short, simplified, and easy to understand. And so, if there are any scientists that are out there and are watching this video, please correct me if I get something wrong in the comments. That's the last thing I want to do, is spread misinformation. If you're watching this and you discover something about what I say is wrong, do not hold back. I think that this could be a really good series, and I think more people can benefit from the knowledge of just the world outside your window anyways. So maybe this will become a series, who knows, but for now, as I'm making this video, if there are any scientists out there, call me out. Don't be afraid, don't be a pussy. I'm looking at you. But with the introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so here we are in the Photoshop. You with me? Look at me. Listen. As you can see, there is a projection here. And if you remember, I made a similar projection in that video that I mentioned earlier, and I wanted to sort of refine it. So the way I explained it before was that picture the Earth as a giant tank, okay? Like a giant tank of water that is being filled up by a substance called air, the thing that we breathe in. And the farther down you go into the tank, the heavier that liquid is, and therefore it is much more thick, and therefore it will obscure things even more so. But the higher you go, the lighter the liquid is. That's why whenever you go up to the mountains, you feel like you can't breathe as well, because air is thinner up at the top. And just like in the actual ocean, if you were to go as far as you can, about, say, the Burj Khalifa length down into the ocean, you would get that crushing depth that we all know and love from Subnautica. That sort of crushing power comes from the weight of all that water compacted on top of one another. Hence why here in this model you can see that it's much more dense at the bottom than it is at the top. And that's what gives us the effect that you see here. Let's go down these paths one by one. So the tree that's in front of you is much closer, and by the way, this is our guy. And the tree that you see in front is the one that you will be able to see all the detail of. You'll be able to see the ridges in the bark. You'll be able to even count the leaves that are on the tree. That's how close up you are, and that's how much the detail is to you. And as we go further out towards this middle tree here, you will see now this is less pronounced. Why is that? Well, that is because there's more of this air, picture that this tree isn't here. There's more of this air liquid that's in between you and that tree. So, because there's more of this space in between, that means that there's more for that air to take up, and therefore, that's how the air can obscure some of the details of the tree. And I also wanted to make this known that this model is very heavily exaggeratory. It's just to give you a sort of understanding to how it works. And that brings us to the final tree, which is way farther away. And you will be able to see less and less of that tree. Why? Say it with me. There's more of this air liquid in between you and the tree. Again, pretend these two trees aren't there. But there's more of that air liquid between you and the tree. So that's why when you look at sort of projections or landscapes, you'll see why the mountains, as you get further, they appear like they're blending in with the background, and that's why. Now, there is one tangent I want to go off before we get into the next segment of this, and this more has to do with how your eyes and perspective work. This isn't like a perspective lesson, but it's more on how perspective works in a scientific way, or in a pseudoscientific way, where I'm going to be explaining it in a very simplistic way. And when I say pseudoscience, I don't mean the actual pseudoscience, I mean pseudoscientific way of me explaining it. So, let's get into it. Okay, so as you can see, we have a guy here, and he's looking out. This yellow cone represents your vision. The way your field of vision works is that the closer you are to your eyes, the narrower the field of vision is. But as you move outwards, the more your field of vision expands. This is a very exaggeratory model of how the human vision works. It is like a cone rather than like a full-on thing, which makes sense. But because it's more of a cone rather than a full line of vision, here you can see there are 5 balls, each set having a different color, and you'll see why in a second. But as you can see, these balls are going to keep the same size the entire time. I'm not shrinking them, I'm not doing anything with them. You're actually just watching me in Photoshop, so if I had to shrink them, I would have to press Control T and all that kind of stuff. You'll see the outlines and you'll know I'm not shrinking this. But currently, in the field of vision, the only thing that's being seen is the blue ball. So that is the thing you'll be seeing as this set of balls is right close to your face. And because the field of view is much narrower, all you're seeing is the blue ball, and it's taking up more space in your field of vision because it's so shallow at your eye line, giving the illusion that this ball is massive in your face. Just like this pen here. This pen 15. I gotta stop with these fucking jokes. But as you can see, like, bring something up close to your face right now. Come on, I can see you through your screen. I'm in your walls. If you were to hold an object, whatever object it is, and bring it close to your face, you'll see that it takes up a lot of your vision. And that is because, again, your vision is like a cone. And therefore, the pen, or the object that's in your face, is taking up more of that narrow space, making it appear as if it's larger. And as you move the object further away, let's say to this middle point, now what you would be seeing is all 3 of the balls here. You'll see the blue ones and the purple ones because they're taking up less space in your field of vision, and therefore there is more room to fit other objects. Now, this isn't happening because the pen is choosing to let the other things have more space. It doesn't have a consciousness. It's just that your field of vision, being such a wide range as it is appearing as if it's getting smaller to fit within a larger field of vision. That's why things appear smaller as they get further away. And as you'll see the 3 balls. Now, if I were to bring these balls out all the way, and remember, things have not changed in terms of size, you'll see that you'll be able to see all of them. It's a much wider space, so therefore, more things can fit in that space, causing it to appear that things are smaller. There you go. That's why things get further. As things get further, they are smaller and much closer together. like I mentioned here, if you were to go back to a point where these balls were here, and all you could see are these 3 balls, you'll see that the spaces in between the 3 balls are much wider here. But if I were to bring them outwards, even though they stay the same, and the distances are not, you know, changing at all, as you get further, you'll see that that distance is much smaller. Everything retains its same spatial sort of position, because nothing is actually changing, it's just your field of view. I know I keep saying this over and over again, but I just want to really drive this home that it is not the object and that it is your field of vision, which you already knew. You're not dumb. You're not a baby who doesn't have any object permanence. Like, you know that things get smaller. It's not the actual object getting smaller, it's just your view. But I wanted to explain to you why that happens, so that you can understand it a little bit better. Now, with this tangent over, we can get back to our main point, which is air is liquid. Now, why do I call it that? That is because I use the model of oceans. Haha, you gotta love it. As you can see, the ocean here is very blue and is very awesome, representing our sky. As things are closest to us, you can see how there are very vibrant colors. Things are what they are supposed to be. They're very true color and value. You can see the full, I also forgot to mention, the contrast will decrease as you get farther away, as you'll see, you know, now. Even in, like, the sky, like, when you're looking at things in space, above ground, not in water, the contrasts will be much greater as they are closer to you, because you can see the shadows much better, and therefore the lack of dark, there's no extra light from the sky, aka the liquid, getting and filling in those parts. You'll still see some of that, but it's not extreme just yet. So, as you can see, everything is its greatest brightness, saturation, all that kind of shit. You get it. But as I move further away, things will start to take on a bluish tinge. You'll see that things will still have their color, like a little bit of yellow here, but mainly as I move across this horizontal axis here, things are mainly looking blue, with some exceptions. Very odd, don't you think? It's almost like that same projection, because there's more space in between you and these objects at this distance line. You'll be able to see more of that air reflecting onto those objects. Now, we get farther away into the distance, look, less contrast in these areas. Like, you can see it, this is a lighter value, and this is a darker value. These are not as strong. The contrast here is not as strong as to here, where you see light here and the absolute shadow here. Things get super bright and super dark as they are closer to you, but as things get further away, that contrast is sort of like downplayed, or sort of depowered, if you will. Now, you might be asking, oh, sure, maybe that's just the case with the coral pictures. Yeah, the coral pictures are the fucking enemy here. That's why we can see the changes. Well, guess what, idiot? You're wrong. This one doesn't have any coral, and this is a basic bitch picture, but you can still see the exact same shit. Very green, and very much, you know, exaggerated in terms of their contrast and the colors. Very out there. But again, as you move farther away, it gets less and less green and less contrast until you get into the foggy. I'm not going to go into this area, because this area is much still, like, in this range of, in terms of distance. So I'm not going to count this. But you can tell here, as things are farther, they still remain blue. We got it? Awesome. We can look at some above ground examples. So let's go ahead and show some. Here we go. A nice nature scene. You can see that grass is very good. You can see that the trees is nice and contrasted, and the colors are true. I can maybe again count all the leaves on this tree. I'm not gonna do that because I'm not insane. But you can see it all is true. But as you get farther away, because the sky is very blue, everything starts to take on the bluish hue. And this leads me into one other thing I wanted to sort of point out in this, in regards to the whole sky thing. I want you to tell me, why exactly is this shadow not completely black? I'll give you 2 seconds. Time's up. Too bad. The sky serves as its own sort of light source, but because the sun is already shining on other objects, the objects that it can't hit is where the secondary light source, aka the skylight, the blue light that you get from the sun reflecting the light particles in the sky, causing the sky to be blue, the skylight, also known as ambient light. Ambient light is literally the color of the sky being reflected into that shadow, because things can't exactly be fully black, because there is also another source of light around. Now, pretend for a second that there is only the sunlight and there is no atmosphere, aka there's no blue light emitting from the sky. Now, you're asking, how the hell would that work? And is there an example of that? There is. And let me introduce you to the moon.
Haunt you!
It is the moon. That is exactly how the moon works. There is no atmosphere on the moon. There is no atmosphere to scatter all the sunlight into blue light or anything like that. Nothing like that is going on the moon. All there is one continuous light source, and as you can see, these shadow colors are pure black. All you see is this light, is the surface being lit up by the sun, and the very dark black shadows. Now, there is no skylight to fill in these darker areas. Now, this is exactly what the Earth would look like if the skylight was not there, if there was no atmosphere. Well, we would all be dead, but pretend we could breathe in space. All there would be is dark black shadows. Nothing else, and that's all we would see. But because there is a skylight, there is a secondary light, being the atmosphere, that fills in these areas, and that's why a lot of it is very blue. So to recap, there are 2 main light sources when it comes to Earth in lighting there, other than other things that give off light, like other materials or anything that we make or whatever. Just natural occurring light. There are only two light sources that we need to worry about, and that is the main sunlight, which is what gives everything its color, which is what gives grass its green, it gives trees bark its brown color, it gives everything its color. And the sun also provides us with one other thing, and that is the shadows. And then we have our secondary light source being lit up from the sun. It is the sun that's causing it, but it is still considered a secondary light source, that being the ambient light from the sky. And that fills in the sun's shadows, giving it the blue hue. Got it? Cool. Air is liquid. No thanks needed. I expect my Nobel Peace Prize to be in the mail within 36 hours. One other thing I wanted to use to give you a better example, and this will be the final thing, don't worry, we're almost done. And that is actual art pieces. So I'm going to give you a couple of things that are very normal, and then I'm going to give you something that's a little abnormal. And these art pieces were all done by my teacher, Marc Brunet. And I'll link his YouTube channel into the description. But here, you can see, again, everything, it's his natural color. He paints it really nicely, and it's the same here. Like, you can see it's very green here, but in the shadow, it is a bluish hue. Same with the rock here, it's its natural hue, but then it goes into the blues. He even uses some blue strokes in the shadow parts of the grass. You can even see these separations here, which is what I like about his impressionistic style. But aside from that, you have everything being its natural color in the foreground, and as things get further away, they get bluer and bluer, and they take on the sky color. And we'll get a better example of this with his house picture, with more colors. all of these colors here. I don't have an extra house like in the background to really show you how these colors would change, but just, you know, I'm giving you the same thing. But everything, it's true color. Boom, 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 you get the joke. But as we get farther away, it takes on the sky color. Again, same thing. Let's say if you had a different color sky, and how would you do that? And that is what our boy Marc Brunet does in this piece. This is a very alien-looking world with using very cool tones and very warm tones here at the focal point. Again, I don't have another person in the background to show how this changes, but trust me, bro. Everything is its true color. Things are already blue here, so it's going to be a little harder to see as that goes further in the background, but it is pretty much the same here. Everything is its truest color, that being the nice blue tones that they have in this section of the world that he's made. And this is during the day, or at least somewhat during sunset in the day, or before sunset or something, because the sky is still light, nice and bright. So there is light being cast, and this would be like around maybe 6 o'clock without daylight saving time. So think of that what you will, but everything is its truest color, and then as you get further in the background, it starts to turn into this color, this sky color. Boom, 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 and as you get closer, things get darker and more refined, and then look here. Look at this foliage down there. Look at that. You see that? It's just a bunch of blobs. Here, let me get rid of that. There you go. It's just a bunch of blobs. Look at that. Blobs. Blobs. All these are trees, mind you. Trees and rocks. All a bunch of blobs. But if you come here, you can see everything is how it is. Like everything is how it should be. Very defined, and you can see the shapes of the plants. You can see all the mushroom shapes. You can see how the trees look. You can see the color of the rocks. You can see I can count every single leaf on this bush. But as you get further away, they turn into blobs. So be very impressionistic whenever you do this in your work. Get weird with it. Really take this information, now that you know the depths of it, take it and apply it to your own work. Have fun with it. Alright, now I'd say that concludes everything that we needed to talk about. Big thanks to Marc Brunet's artwork. He does amazing paintings. Please, you have to go watch his YouTube videos. He's the one who got me to take my art seriously and actually study. He does good shit. But my art, the reason why I used his work is not only because he's my teacher, but also my style is very similar to his in the way he paints and draws. It's more like this stylized realism is how my art works and also how his works. I really enjoyed his style, and so I tried to emulate it without obviously copying. That's not good, don't copy. But for now, I'm going to end it here. Keep this image in your mind, and I will see you all in the next video where I'm going to complete the series that I had started of me doing that one Tenchi character design. Honestly, this is more like an intermediate, because this is going to take less effort and time to edit and upload. So if anything, I'm lazy, but I use that laziness as a sort of way to get other things done. Oh God.